Selena Whitmore had never believed in fairy tales. As the heiress to one of the most influential business empires in the country, she had grown accustomed to the cold calculus of power and control. Every move she made, every word she spoke, was measured and deliberate. But when her parents summoned her to the Grand Whitmore estate one afternoon, she sensed that the rules were about to change. Her parents, imposing figures of authority and influence, had always directed her life with precision. But today, there was a dangerous gleam in their eyes. "You have a responsibility to the family," her father began, voice firm yet tinged with impatience. "Our competitors have been making moves. We cannot allow them to gain an advantage. It's time you consider marriage." Selena's jaw tightened, irritation flaring. She had been prepared for discussions about business strategy, acquisitions, or expansion, but marriage arranged, calculated, dictated by others felt like a violation of everything she valued. "I am not a pawn," she replied sharply. Her voice carried the certainty of someone who had been underestimated too often, and she expected resistance. Her mother, with a softer yet equally determined tone, continued, "Selena, this is not merely about marriage. It's about alliance. Victor Ramsey is powerful, influential, and well-connected. A union with him would secure our family's interests and ensure the Whitmore empire remains untouchable." Selena's eyes narrowed. She knew of Victor Ramsey, a notorious billionaire playboy with a reputation for charm, cunning, and ruthless business tactics. The thought of sharing her life, even temporarily, with someone like him was infuriating. But the weight of her family's expectations pressed on her chest like a heavy stone. That evening, she confronted Victor in a luxurious penthouse reserved for business discussions. The atmosphere was tense, the city skyline glittering behind floor-to-ceiling windows. Victor's smile was confident, almost predatory, as he extended his hand. "I hear we're being forced into something interesting," he said smoothly, his voice teasing but measured. Selena refused to shake his hand, instead crossing her arms and meeting his gaze with fire. "Interesting is not the word I'd use," she snapped. "Forced is more accurate." Their verbal sparring was immediate, the clash of wills electric. Neither of them would back down, not yet, not ever. Her parents proposed a compromise, a contract outlining the terms of the arrangement. For 1 year, Selena and Victor would publicly appear as an engaged couple, attending galas, meetings, and social events together. Any romantic interaction would remain strictly staged, designed to benefit the family's image and strategic alliances. In exchange, Selena would retain control over her personal decisions, her business ventures, and her privacy conditions carefully negotiated to prevent her life from being completely commandeered. Yet even with these stipulations, the very notion of pretending to be in love with Victor Ramsey ignited a storm within Selena, an unpredictable blend of anger, defiance, and forbidden curiosity. The first public appearance under the contract was scheduled at a high society gala. Selena's entrance was met with whispers, her reputation preceding her. Victor, impeccably dressed and confident, offered her a courteous nod that was almost a challenge. As cameras clicked and socialites murmured, the pretense began, but beneath the surface, subtle sparks ignited. A brush of hands, a glance too long to be casual, a small smile that neither could explain. These were the seeds of something neither Selena nor Victor had anticipated. A fake engagement had been proposed, but the stage was being set for a dangerous, intoxicating reality. The gala was a spectacle of elegance and scrutiny. Selena felt every eye on her as she walked beside Victor, each step choreographed to perfection, each movement calculated to project poise and composure. Yet beneath the surface, a storm of conflicting emotions raged. Victor's presence was magnetic, infuriating, and unsettling all at once. His confident demeanor and subtle smirks challenged her every instinct to maintain control. She refused to let him see the flicker of curiosity or desire that she could not suppress. But each interaction drew her deeper into the pretense. That was beginning to feel far too real. Victor, for his part, was equally aware of the tension. He noticed the small ways Selena's posture stiffened, The way her eyes flicked toward him with a mixture of defiance and intrigue. The carefully constructed mask of engagement gave them a stage to perform, yet every glance and gesture carried hidden undertones. He had anticipated ease, predictability, and manipulation, but what he did not anticipate was Selena's intelligence, her fiery independence, and the way she silently resisted his every attempt to dominate the space between them. The game had begun, but both were surprised by the intensity of the attraction that grew beneath it. The night progressed with whispered conversations, strategic mingling, and rehearsed appearances. Selena's interactions with the media were flawless, projecting the image of a sophisticated, elegant heiress, while Victor offered subtle guidance that both supported and provoked her. The careful balance of cooperation and challenge created an electric atmosphere around them, a tension that neither could ignore. Even the smallest gestures, a hand lightly brushing against hers while accepting an award, a fleeting touch on the arm during conversation sent currents through both of them. A reminder that the line between pretense and reality was beginning to blur. Later, as they retreated to a private corner of the gala for a brief respite, the air between them grew charged with unspoken emotion. Selena, despite herself, allowed her guard to lower for a fraction of a moment, acknowledging the warmth of Victor's presence. Victor, sensing the vulnerability, restrained his usual charm, instead offering quiet support and subtle reassurance. It was a delicate dance, a test of restraint and mutual understanding, where every look and every word carried double meanings. Both understood that the fake engagement was evolving into something far more complex than either had anticipated. The following days brought new challenges. Public appearances continued, with photos, interviews, and social commentary scrutinizing every interaction between Selena and Victor. The pressure was immense, and the constant attention forced them to navigate their emotions with precision. Behind closed doors, however, the tension intensified. Conversations that had once been strictly formal became charged with personal undertones. Subtle confessions hidden beneath layers of sarcasm, teasing, and playful challenges. The act of pretending began to feel dangerously real, leaving both of them questioning their feelings and the purpose of the contract. By the end of the week, both Selena and Victor realized that the stakes were no longer solely about family alliances or public appearances. The emotional undercurrent between them had grown undeniable, a force neither could fully control. Each touch, each glance, each carefully staged smile was loaded with meaning, and both began to acknowledge the uncomfortable truth. The fake engagement was evolving into something real, thrilling, and terrifying. The foundation of their carefully constructed contract had shifted, and neither could predict what would happen when the walls of pretense finally crumbled. After the gala, the dynamic between Selena and Victor shifted in ways neither had anticipated. The public eyes and social expectations had only amplified the tension, but behind closed doors, a storm of conflicting emotions brewed. Selena found herself constantly aware of Victor's presence, the way he leaned against a doorway, casually observing her, or the subtle movements that suggested he was intentionally close. Each encounter sent a pulse of irritation and curiosity through her, a mixture that left her both furious and fascinated. She prided herself on control, yet Victor had an uncanny ability to unravel her defenses with nothing more than a glance or a casual smirk. Victor, in contrast, was equally captivated. The calculated charm he had always wielded so effortlessly seemed inadequate against Selena's fiery intellect and unyielding independence. He had expected compliance, manipulation, or resistance, but Selena's defiance and sharp wit challenged him in unexpected ways. The attraction, initially dismissed as part of the contract, had transformed into a dangerous fascination. He found himself analyzing her gestures, anticipating her reactions, and feeling the undeniable pull of desire whenever their proximity forced subtle touches, brief glances, or unspoken interactions. Their private encounters became charged with a heady mix of challenge and attraction. A shared lunch turned into a strategic duel of words and wits, both testing boundaries and exploring the hidden depths of each other's personalities. The playful teasing, the sparks of irritation, and the subtle acknowledgments of mutual strength created an atmosphere where tension and desire intertwined seamlessly. Selena found herself drawn to Victor's confidence and charisma, yet frustrated by the undeniable arousal his presence elicited. Victor, likewise, struggled to maintain the professional facade while secretly craving the very connection he was supposed to stage. One evening, while reviewing plans for an upcoming joint appearance, the closeness became impossible to ignore. Fingers brushed across documents, shoulders nearly touched, and a shared laugh lingered longer than etiquette permitted. Both experienced a jolt of realization. Their feelings had surpassed the pretense of the contract. There was genuine desire, unspoken acknowledgement of intimacy, and a mutual awareness that the line between role-playing and reality was rapidly dissolving. The tension became intoxicating, each interaction leaving both of them simultaneously exhilarated and apprehensive, despite their growing emotions. The shadows of family expectations and public scrutiny remained ever present. Selena feared vulnerability, worried that any display of genuine feeling could compromise her autonomy and her carefully curated image. Victor, too, struggled with the implications of yielding to desire, knowing that passion could be exploited or misinterpreted in ways that would have far-reaching consequences. Yet, in quiet moments away from prying eyes, both discovered an unspoken comfort in each other's presence, a recognition of strength, intelligence, and emotional depth that neither had expected. By the end of this period, Selena and Victor could no longer deny the truth simmering beneath the surface. The pretense of the contract had inadvertently created a space for real connection, passion, and emotional intimacy. Every glance, every touch, and every conversation carried layers of meaning, weaving a complex tapestry of desire and mutual respect. What began as a calculated arrangement was rapidly evolving into something neither could control: a dangerous, thrilling, and irresistible attraction that promised both profound connection and potential heartbreak. Part 4: Emotional Climax and Confession. The weeks of pretense and tension came to a head during a luxurious weekend retreat arranged for media appearances and business networking. Selena and Victor were forced into close quarters, sharing the same suite for interviews, photo shoots, and strategy discussions. The proximity magnified every subtle movement, every lingering glance, and every word exchanged. Selena felt the heat of anticipation rise whenever Victor spoke directly to her, the pretense of the engagement making each interaction more intoxicating and maddening than any simple flirtation could. The line between act and reality had blurred beyond recognition. Victor noticed the shift immediately. Selena's sharp composure occasionally faltered, and he found himself reveling in those fleeting moments when vulnerability broke through her armor. Every glance, every controlled breath, every flicker of emotion became a magnet, drawing him closer even as he reminded himself of the constraints of the contract. Yet restraint grew increasingly difficult. He wanted to reach out, to close the space between them, but the shadow of public perception and their staged engagement held him back, making the tension almost unbearable. During a quiet evening by the balcony, with city lights sparkling like a distant galaxy below, the dam broke. Selena, frustrated with her own inability to remain indifferent, spoke candidly, admitting that the lines between performance and real emotion had blurred. Her voice, usually sharp and commanding, soft as she revealed her conflicted feelings. Victor, listening intently, responded with a rare openness. He confessed that the pretense had never been enough for him either, that the attraction, admiration, and even affection he had tried to suppress were impossible to deny. In that moment, both understood that the bet had evolved into something far more complex and genuine. The emotional confession brought a mix of relief and danger. For the first time, they acknowledged the truth, yet the stakes remained high. Their reputations, the family's expectations, and the public eye were ever-present threats to their newfound closeness. Despite these pressures, a powerful intimacy blossomed. Every touch, once accidental or staged, now carried deliberate meaning. Every glance communicated desire and understanding. The tension of secrecy amplified every interaction, transforming each shared moment into an exhilarating, private world that belonged only to them. In the days that followed, their dynamic continued to shift. The playful challenges of the initial arrangement were replaced by moments of genuine connection and subtle tenderness. Selena found herself laughing more freely, enjoying Victor's dry humor, and occasionally letting down her guard without fear of judgment. Victor discovered comfort in her presence, appreciating her sharp intellect and the rare glimpses of vulnerability she allowed. The pretense of the contract remained, but it now coexisted with an undeniable reality. Both had been drawn into a connection that neither could ignore, a passion that defied strategy or social expectation. By the end of this phase, Selena and Victor were no longer merely acting as a couple. They were navigating the complex terrain of real emotions under the guise of a staged engagement. Each shared moment deepened their bond, revealing layers of trust, attraction, and understanding that neither had anticipated. The contract, once a tool for alliance and strategy, had become the crucible in which their true feelings were forged. And as both of them silently acknowledged the depth of their connection, it was clear that the pretense had set the stage for a love that was thrilling, dangerous, and utterly irresistible. The carefully constructed illusion that had bound Selena and Victor together finally reached a point of no return. Their private feelings, once hidden beneath layers of sarcasm, teasing, and strategy, had grown too intense to ignore. Every public appearance, every stage smile, and every subtle gesture had gradually transformed into something undeniably real. The gala season had heightened their visibility, making every interaction a delicate performance, but behind closed doors, neither could deny the heat and connection between them. The pretense had become a catalyst for passion, and both felt the inevitability of confession pressing upon them. It began subtly, with lingering glances during interviews, shared laughter that wasn't entirely performative, and the brief, electric touch of fingers as they passed documents or adjusted each other's attire. Each incident deepened the emotional intimacy, creating a tension that was palpable and inescapable. Selena found herself torn between her need for independence and the magnetic pull toward Victor, a feeling that left her both exhilarated and terrified. Victor, similarly, grappled with the challenge of maintaining composure while craving a closeness that went far beyond what the contract demanded. The danger of exposure made each encounter all the more thrilling. The turning point came during a major press event announcing a strategic partnership between the Whitmore and Ramsey empires. Cameras flashed relentlessly as Selena and Victor stood side by side, their public image polished and flawless. Yet in the brief moments when the crowd's attention faltered, Victor took her hand, holding it just long enough to communicate the depth of his feelings without a single word. Selena, her pulse quickening, allowed herself to meet his gaze fully, and in that instant, the world outside ceased to exist. The pretense remained for the audience, but the truth between them had crystallized. They were no longer pretending. They were in love. Later that evening, in the quiet of Victor's penthouse, they finally allowed themselves to speak openly. Selena admitted that the pretense had made her vulnerable in ways she hadn't anticipated, that the sparks she felt weren't just part of the contract, they were real, undeniable, and consuming. Victor mirrored her confession, revealing that he had been equally captivated, his admiration and desire growing steadily until it became impossible to suppress. The weight of their words lifted a tension that had been building for weeks, replacing it with a sense of freedom and mutual understanding. Their connection, forged in strategy and necessity, had evolved into an unshakable emotional bond. In the days that followed, Selena and Victor navigated the delicate task of integrating their truth into the world around them. Publicly, they continued to honor the contract, maintaining appearances and fulfilling obligations, but privately, their relationship deepened. Each touch, each glance, each shared moment of laughter or insight became a testament to the genuine feelings that had grown beneath the surface. The combination of love, respect, and shared ambition created a powerful synergy, strengthening both their personal bond and professional partnership. What had begun as a strategic necessity had transformed into a passionate, resilient connection. By the end of this stage, Selena and Victor were no longer merely partners in business or participants in a contract. they had become partners in life, hearts entwined, navigating the world together with honesty, trust, and desire. The revelation of their true feelings brought relief and exhilaration, allowing them to embrace a love that had been waiting beneath the surface from the very beginning. The pretense had served its purpose, but the reality that emerged was infinitely more powerful. A love born of strategy, challenge, and undeniable chemistry, now free to grow without restraint. Part SIX: The Happy Resolution and New Beginning. The final chapter of their journey unfolded with a sense of triumph and emotional clarity. Selena and Victor had navigated the storm of expectations, family pressure, public scrutiny, and the complexity of their own emotions. The contract, which had once dictated every interaction and framed their relationship as a business necessity, had served as the crucible in which their bond was tested and ultimately strengthened. Now, free from the constraints of pretense, they faced the world together, not as partners bound by obligation, but as individuals united by genuine love, respect, and shared ambition. Their families, initially skeptical and cautious, came to recognize the authenticity of their connection. The merger, which had been the original reason for the contract, had been solidified through the synergy of their partnership, both professional and personal. Parents, board members, and key stakeholders observed the undeniable chemistry and trust between them, understanding that the alliance was no longer just a strategic maneuver, it was a foundation for a lasting partnership in all aspects of life. For Selena and Victor, this recognition brought a quiet satisfaction, a confirmation that love and ambition could coexist without compromise. Private moments became the true reward. Quiet dinners on rooftops overlooking the city skyline, late night conversations over coffee, and walks through the gardens of their shared residences revealed dimensions of their personalities that had previously remained hidden. Selena learned to trust Victor not only with her heart, but with her vulnerabilities, discovering a tenderness beneath his confident exterior. Victor, in turn, embraced the depth of Selena's intellect, humor, and passion, realizing that her strength only magnified the bond they shared. Together, they created a sanctuary where ambition, love, and mutual respect thrived side by side. Publicly, they continued to navigate appearances with poise and elegance, seamlessly integrating their professional and personal lives. Every gala, press event, and business engagement became a testament to the power of their partnership. The chemistry that had once been a source of tension now radiated as confidence and harmony. Observers could see the connection, but only Selena and Victor truly understood the depth, effort, and journey that had brought them to this point. The pretense was gone, replaced by a living, breathing love that was real, resilient, and intoxicating. As months passed, their relationship deepened, evolving from passionate attraction to a profound emotional intimacy. Shared goals, mutual respect, and unwavering support became the pillars of their bond. Conflicts that arose were navigated with understanding rather than control, compromise rather than stubbornness. Each challenge faced together, whether personal or professional, reinforced the foundation they had built. The journey from an imposed contract to genuine partnership had tested them in ways no boardroom negotiation ever could, leaving them stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever before. In the end, Selena and Victor stood together not only as lovers but as equals, navigating a life enriched by trust, passion, and shared purpose. The world outside continued to watch, but they had found their private sanctuary within each other, a space where strategy, ambition, and love intertwined seamlessly. The fake engagement had sparked a journey neither could have predicted, transforming into a reality that was thrilling, tender, and enduring. And as they faced the future together, hand in hand, both understood that the greatest victories in life were not measured in wealth or power, but in love, connection, and the courage to embrace it fully.